Take a deep breath. Let this moment be your turning point, the moment your life splits into before and after, because today you're going to learn how to think in a way that forces money to pay attention to you. Not politely, not casually, but unmistakably, irresistibly, and inevitably. Yes, inevitably, because when you think like this, money has no choice but to follow you. The mindset that starts everything money doesn't begin with effort. It doesn't begin with hustle. It doesn't begin with waking up at 5 a.m. or buying a course or reading a book. It begins with a thought, one single powerful thought that becomes a belief, that becomes a habit, that becomes a destiny. You don't earn money first. You think wealth first. Everything outside you is a reflection of what's happening inside you. If your mind is filled with doubts, excuses, and fear, you will see those same patterns in your bank account. If your mind is filled with clarity, confidence, and possibility, you will see those same patterns in your opportunities. Money is not running from you. Your thoughts might be. The world responds to your inner voice. There is a voice inside you. You know the one I'm talking about. The voice that says, I'm not ready. I'm not enough. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. That voice has robbed people of more money, more success, and more destiny than poverty ever has. Every time you tell yourself you can't, you push money further away. Every time you tell yourself you're unworthy, you shut the door that opportunity was knocking on. But every time, listen to this, every time you speak with conviction, every time you say, I can create wealth, I can attract wealth, I was built for abundance, you pull money closer. You make it impossible, absolutely impossible for it to ignore you. Stop chasing money, become the magnet. Here's the truth most people never hear. Money doesn't follow the fastest person. It follows the most aligned person. When you think like a chaser, money keeps running. When you think like a magnet, money turns around. A magnet doesn't beg. A magnet doesn't doubt. A magnet doesn't run. A magnet simply is. And when you think thoughts of worthiness, thoughts of expansion, thoughts of value, you become that magnet. You attract opportunities. You attract networks. You attract ideas. You attract income streams you didn't even know existed. Money is energy, and energy moves towards certainty. The shift happens when you take responsibility. Let this next sentence shake you. Your money problems are not your fault, but your money future is your responsibility. Blame never built a fortune. Excuses never paid a bill. Denial never opened a door. The moment you say, I am the architect of my wealth, you become unstoppable. Because you can't fix what you don't claim, and you can't grow what you don't own. Take responsibility not to punish yourself, but to empower yourself. This is the day you stop waiting for help and start becoming your own rescue. Your habits are signals to money. Every habit you have sends a message. Your discipline, your consistency, your focus, they all tell money whether it is safe with you. If you treat time carelessly, money sees it. If you treat opportunities casually, money notices. If you treat growth seriously, money responds. Money is not emotional, but it is attracted to stability. Show money that you are ready for it, and it will show up in more ways than you can imagine. The language of abundance. Words are not sounds. Words are commands. Scarcity says, I can't afford this. I'll never make it. It's too late for me. Abundance says, I will create the way. I am becoming more valuable every day. The universe is opening doors for my growth. When you switch your language, you switch your energy, and when you switch your energy, you switch your results. Speak like the person you want to become, and your life will rise to match your vocabulary. Become valuable, and money will compete for you. People chase money, but money chases value. When you grow your skills, when you sharpen your voice, when you build your discipline, when you become the kind of person who solves problems rather than complains about them. Money competes for you, people seek you out, opportunities introduce themselves, you don't have to scream, you don't have to force, you don't have to beg. You just have to become so valuable that wealth looks at you and says, "Where have you been?" The environment that shapes your riches look around you. Every person in your circle is either stretching your mind or shrinking your dreams. You cannot think rich in a room built for the broke. You cannot talk abundance in an environment addicted to scarcity. Surround yourself with people who talk about goals, not gossip. People who talk about visions, not victims. People who lift you, challenge you, inspire you, and refuse to let you settle. Elevation requires separation. Your breakthrough begins with a thought before the income rises, the mindset rises. Before the opportunity arrives, the belief arrives. Before the world says yes, you must say yes to yourself. Think bigger. Think braver. Think like someone who knows wealth is not a dream, it is a decision. And the moment you make that decision, money begins moving in your direction. The final shift, so hear this now. When you think like a person who expects abundance. When you think like a person who honors their skills. When you think like a person who refuses to stay small. Money has no choice at all. It will follow you. Because you are no longer chasing wealth, you are creating it. You are attracting it, you are becoming it, and from this moment forward, your thoughts are no longer ordinary. Your thoughts are wealthy, your thoughts are powerful, your thoughts are magnetic, and when you think like this, money has no choice but to follow you. Your financial reality begins in your mindset, and the thoughts you repeatedly choose either pull money closer or push it away without you realizing it. Wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in the invisible patterns of belief that shape your daily actions. And this is where most people misunderstand the game of money. They focus on earning, working, grinding, hustling, but they ignore the source from which all outcomes rise. Everything you experience in life is first created in your mind, in that private world where no one else can see your fears, your doubts, your desires, and your expectations. Those thoughts, repeated day after day, become the architects of your destiny. Every thought you entertain is like a seed. Some seeds grow into opportunities and some grow into roadblocks. When you repeatedly choose thoughts of scarcity, thoughts like "I'll never have enough," "I'm not smart enough," "I don't deserve wealth," "Money is too hard to get," "Rich people are lucky, and I'm not," you quietly lock yourself inside a mental prison that you don't even realize you built. And here's the painful truth. The world will always treat you the way you treat yourself internally. If you treat yourself as someone who isn't capable of wealth, the world will mirror that belief. You won't notice opportunities even when they pass right in front of you. You won't apply for positions you could have earned. You won't speak up when your ideas could have brought you value. You won't take risks that could have opened new doors. You won't discipline yourself because somewhere deep down, you don't believe you're worthy of the reward that discipline could bring. Most people don't fail because they're unskilled. They fail because they're unconvinced. They fail because they've been taught to use their mind as a storage room for fear rather than creation. They fail because they don't understand that your thoughts are not entertainment, they are instructions. The universe hears what you repeatedly whisper to yourself, and your subconscious obeys those instructions with absolute loyalty. If you constantly tell yourself that money is hard to get, you'll find yourself facing situations where money becomes difficult. If you tell yourself you're unlucky, you'll ignore every moment when luck tries to show up. If you tell yourself you're not capable, your behavior will shrink, your decisions will weaken, and your actions will hesitate. You unconsciously create the life you complain about. But here's the beautiful opposite truth. The moment you decide to choose different thoughts, everything begins to shift. Because empowering thoughts don't just stay in your mind, they ripple into your actions. If you start telling yourself, money flows to me when I grow, your mind begins looking for growth. If you tell yourself, I can create value, your mind starts noticing ways to contribute. If you tell yourself, I deserve abundance, you begin making choices like someone who expects good things, not someone who fears losing everything. Wealthy thinking is not fantasy, it is focus. You begin to act with intention. You begin to move with confidence. You begin to speak with clarity. You start planning instead of procrastinating. You start learning instead of doubting. You start showing up instead of shrinking. And as your internal world rises, your external world is forced to rise with it. People feel your confidence. Opportunities react to your readiness. Decisions align with your belief. The world mirrors the vibration you carry within. This is why some people seem like money magnets. It's not because life favors them, it's because their mind is aligned with what they expect to receive. They think in terms of possibility, not limitation. They don't wake up thinking, I hope things work out. They wake up thinking, I will make things work. They don't whisper fear. They declare intention. They don't complain about circumstances. They shape circumstances. They know that money follows clarity, and clarity begins in the mind. When you shift your thinking, money starts looking for you because you begin behaving like someone who can handle it. The world sees your discipline. People recognize your value. You follow through on your ideas. You take small steps consistently. You develop a mindset that welcomes wealth instead of being intimidated by it. And when your thoughts rise to that level, you stop sabotaging yourself. You stop settling for less. You stop shrinking your desires. You stop accepting the life that your fears designed. Instead, you begin creating the life your courage has been quietly asking for. You don't get wealthy by accident. You get wealthy by alignment. And alignment begins in the one place no one else can see, the space where your thoughts either lift you or limit you. You do not attract money by force. You attract it by becoming the kind of thinker whose beliefs, habits, energy, and discipline invite wealth instead of repelling it. Because money always listens to your mind before it enters your hands. And when your thoughts are rooted in clarity, confidence, worthiness, and growth, money has no choice but to come closer. It's not magic, it's mindset, it's not luck, it's alignment. And everything you want begins the moment you choose thoughts powerful enough to pull your future toward you instead of pushing it away. Money naturally gravitates toward clarity, purpose, and self-belief. When your internal conversation changes, your external world cannot resist changing with it. The universe responds to conviction, not confusion, and this is one of the deepest truths people ignore. Money is not attracted to people who are uncertain about who they are, what they want, or what they're willing to become. It is attracted to people who think, speak, act, and carry themselves with the energy of direction. When you are unclear inside, the world becomes unclear outside. When you second, guess yourself internally, opportunities hesitate to present themselves. When your mind is filled with mixed signals, wanting wealth one day, doubting it the next, dreaming big in the morning, fearing failure by evening, you send out contradictory energy that repels the very abundance you hope to receive. Think about a person who walks into a room unsure of their worth, unsure of their abilities, unsure of their path. Their shoulders are slightly lowered, their voice slightly softened, their choices slightly hesitant. They are physically present, but energetically invisible. Money, opportunities, and influential people cannot read them, cannot trust them, cannot feel pulled toward them. Because the world responds to clarity, and clarity is something you create internally before it appears externally. Clarity is not knowing every step, it is knowing the direction. It's not having the perfect plan, it's having unshakable intention. It is the quiet inner voice that whispers, I am moving towards something bigger, even when the outer world hasn't caught up yet. Purpose is a magnet. When you have purpose, money starts noticing you. When you have purpose, people start trusting you. When you have purpose, you move differently, not faster, but with more meaning. And people feel it. Opportunities feel it. Life feels it. Purpose gives your mind something to aim at, and the mind without an aim becomes the creator of self. Sabotage. Without purpose, every small challenge becomes a reason to quit. With purpose, every challenge becomes fuel. Without purpose, you lose motivation. With purpose, you create momentum. Purpose makes you resourceful. It turns you into someone who doesn't wait for chances but creates them. Self-belief is the third force, and perhaps the strongest. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is not pretending. It is not the loud performance of confidence. Self-belief is inner permission. It is the moment you say, I am allowed to want more. I am allowed to rise. I am allowed to succeed. Most people do not lack intelligence. They lack permission from themselves to dream, to try, to fail, to get up again, to expand beyond the version of themselves that their past shaped. Self-belief is deciding that you deserve to show up in your own life. And that decision creates internal certainty, and internal certainty changes everything. When you carry self-belief, your energy communicates it long before your words do. People begin trusting you because you trust yourself. People begin buying from you because you believe in what you offer. People begin following you because you lead yourself first. Money especially responds to self-belief because money is not emotional, it is logical. It goes where it knows it can multiply. It goes toward people who think and act with the courage to use it well. When you believe in yourself, you make disciplined decisions. You invest your time wisely. You learn instead of complain. You grow instead of shrink. You try instead of fear. You take steps forward even when the path isn't fully visible yet. Money sees this and moves toward it because money follows stability, and self-belief is the foundation of inner stability. Your internal conversation is shaping your life every second, whether you notice it or not. Every day you are talking to yourself in a language the world eventually hears. If your self-talk is filled with doubt, I'm not sure, maybe one day, I don't know if I can do this, you end up living a life that reflects exactly that doubt. But when your self-talk is filled with certainty, I can figure this out, I can grow, I will make this happen, I am capable, I am becoming better, your actions start reflecting that certainty. You show up differently, you speak differently, you work differently, you take responsibility differently, you make decisions differently, and because your internal world shifts, the external world shifts to match. There is a law in life far more powerful than most people realize. The external world is always catching up to the internal world. If you want more money, you must first think in alignment with the type of person who receives more money. If you want success, you must think like someone who expects success. If you want abundance, you must think thoughts that welcome abundance instead of thoughts that quietly contradict it. You cannot think small and live big. You cannot think unworthy and attract prosperity. You cannot think fear and walk into opportunity. This is why the moment you change the way you speak to yourself, something subtle but powerful begins happening. You start making decisions from a place of strength instead of insecurity. You start carrying yourself with a sense of direction instead of randomness. You start acting like someone who knows where they're going, even if you're still figuring out the route. And life responds differently to that energy. People who once ignored you begin noticing you. Doors that once stayed closed begin cracking open. Situations that seemed against you begin shifting in your favor. Not because the world changed first, but because you changed within first. Clarity brings money because clarity brings action. Purpose brings money because purpose brings consistency. Self-belief brings money because self-belief brings courage. And courage is the bridge between ideas and reality. When your inner world becomes organized, confident, focused, and expansive, the outer world simply aligns with what you have already decided internally. And at that point, money is no longer something you chase, it becomes something that naturally moves toward you, because your mindset no longer repels it. Your mindset welcomes it. Your energy mirrors abundance instead of fear. Your beliefs support your goals instead of arguing with them. And when your internal conversation becomes clear and powerful, the external world has no choice but to respond with opportunity, growth, and financial expansion. Most people chase money physically, but repel it mentally, creating a hidden conflict that blocks abundance from entering their lives. You can work hard, wake up early, run after opportunities, and still feel stuck because the real battle isn't happening in the world around you, it's happening in the world within you. There is a silent war inside the mind between desire and doubt, between ambition and fear, between the part of you that wants more and the part of you that whispers, "Maybe I don't deserve it." And that internal conflict has more power over your financial life than any strategy, degree, or skill ever will. You can spend years running in circles, wondering why opportunities slip through your fingers, why money comes but doesn't stay, why every step forward feels like 2 steps back. You blame the economy, your circumstances, the people who didn't support you, the lack of resources. But the truth, the one most people never want to face, is that your mindset can sabotage you faster than any external obstacle. You can chase money all day with your hands while your thoughts quietly push it away with your energy. Imagine someone running after a bus they desperately want to catch, but at the same time, grabbing the back of their own shirt and pulling themselves away. That's what happens when you pursue financial success with actions but destroy it with thoughts. You move forward physically but drag yourself backward mentally. You hustle but you don't believe you want wealth but you fear it. You dream big but you expect small. You desire opportunity but you anticipate failure. You speak positively but internally you doubt every word. This is the mental contradiction that ruins even the hardest workers. It is the reason some people work endlessly and see little change, while others make exponential progress with fewer, more aligned actions. Your mind must give permission before your life can give results. When you hold beliefs like money is evil, rich people are greedy, success changes people, wealth is impossible for someone like me, or I always lose things, you create an invisible barrier that you're unaware of. You cannot attract what you secretly resent. You cannot keep what you subconsciously fear. You cannot receive what your mind believes is unsafe. So even when opportunities come to you, you find ways to sabotage them. You hesitate, you stall, you procrastinate, you avoid taking the next step. You talk yourself out of greatness. Your subconscious mind always obeys your deepest beliefs, not your loudest wishes. You might say you want more money, but deep down, you might believe it will make you a target, or a burden, or a failure, or a disappointment. And if the deepest part of you believes wealth is dangerous or unreachable, it will block every chance you get to rise. Not out of malice, but out of protection. The mind protects you from what it thinks is harmful, even if that thing is your own potential. This is why someone can get a great job and then lose it, make money and then waste it, receive an opportunity and then fear the responsibility. It's not the world rejecting them, it's their beliefs rejecting the abundance. Chasing money while doubting yourself is like pouring water into a cracked cup. No matter how much effort you put in, it leaks out. Your actions fill, but your beliefs empty. So the cycle continues. More work, less result. More pressure, less progress. More chasing, less receiving. But when someone finally heals the internal conflict, everything changes. When their mind and actions start moving in the same direction, the speed of progress multiplies. Instead of pulling themselves backward while trying to move forward, they release the grip. They stop being their own obstacle. Suddenly, opportunities don't seem so far. Money doesn't feel so difficult. Growth doesn't feel so unreachable. The universe responds faster because there is no longer resistance from within. When you believe you're worthy of success, you act like someone capable of success. You make decisions differently. You take risks that once scared you. You speak up when you used to stay silent. You ask for what you deserve instead of apologizing for wanting anything. You become consistent instead of emotional. You begin solving problems instead of running from them. Your energy becomes lighter, stronger, more magnetic. People notice the difference. Money especially notices the difference because money doesn't follow effort alone, it follows alignment. You must understand that abundance is not attracted to desperation. It is attracted to confidence, clarity, and inner safety. Money flows toward people who feel ready for it, people who feel capable of managing, growing, and respecting it. If your mind is afraid of responsibility, you will lose money quickly. If your mind is afraid of failure, you will avoid opportunities. If your mind is afraid of judgment, you will sabotage your potential. But when your mind feels aligned with wealth, not intimidated by it, everything that once felt hard begins to feel possible. Think of your mind like a thermostat. If you set the thermostat to 20 degrees C and the room gets warmer, the system automatically cools it back down. That's what the subconscious does with money. If your internal financial thermostat is set low because of your beliefs, then anytime you earn more money than you think you deserve, your behavior will unconsciously bring you back down to your comfortable level. You may spend impulsively, sabotage opportunities, or make poor decisions without understanding why. Not because you're irresponsible, but because your internal setting hasn't been updated. But once you change that internal setting, once you raise your level of self-worth, once you repair your relationship with money, once you dissolve the fear, the guilt, and the old poverty programming, then money has nothing left to run from. Your actions begin supporting your goals. Your habits begin building your future. Your mind begins opening doors that were previously invisible. You stop working against yourself and begin working with yourself. And that is when money begins moving toward you with a different rhythm, a different consistency, and a different speed. When your mindset aligns with your actions, you stop chasing money. Money begins naturally gravitating toward you. The conflict ends, the resistance dissolves. You become someone who doesn't block their blessings anymore. Someone whose thoughts and dreams move in the same direction. And that is when life truly begins to shift. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must face the truth that money doesn't respond to wishes, fantasies, or daydreams. It responds to discipline, consistency, and the quiet, relentless work that most people run away from. The world is filled with people who want wealth, but aren't willing to become the kind of person who can handle wealth. They crave the rewards but avoid the responsibilities. They love the idea of abundance but fear the discomfort that comes with growth. And because of this silent contradiction, they stay stuck in cycles that feel impossible to break. But here's the truth that changes everything. The moment you commit to disciplined action, the universe begins rearranging itself to support you. Money is not an emotional decision. It follows patterns, habits, and energy. It moves toward people who consistently prove that they're ready for it. Discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. It's ensuring your actions match your ambitions. If you desire financial freedom, but your habits scream procrastination, hesitation, inconsistency, distraction, or emotional impulsiveness, then you are living in conflict with your goals. Discipline is what brings the mind and the future into harmony. When your daily habits begin reflecting the life you want instead of the life you fear, everything in your reality starts shifting. You stop wasting time. You stop making decisions based on temporary feelings. You stop accepting short-term pleasure at the cost of long-term gain. You stop abandoning yourself every time the process gets uncomfortable. You begin to rise, not because you suddenly got lucky, but because you finally became loyal to your own potential. Consistency is the quiet force that transforms small efforts into massive outcomes. Most people fail not because they lack skill, but because they lack consistency. They show up strong for a week and then disappear for a month. They work hard when they're motivated, but lose all momentum the moment things get boring or difficult. They chase results but avoid routines. The truth is, greatness doesn't come from explosive bursts, it comes from daily bricks. One small, repetitive action done with intention becomes unstoppable over time. You don't build wealth by doing something once. You build it by doing something again and again until it becomes part of who you are. Every time you stay consistent, you deepen your identity. You tell your subconscious, I am someone who follows through. You prove to yourself that you can rely on you, and that inner trust becomes the strongest foundation for financial success. A person who trusts themselves will take risks wisely. They will execute ideas. They will finish what they start. They won't crumble under pressure. They won't lose themselves in setbacks. They won't sabotage their progress. Money flows toward people who show that they can be trusted with it, and consistency is the evidence that you are trustworthy. Self-control is the third pillar because money doesn't only require discipline in doing, it requires discipline in resisting. The world is full of temptations designed to drain your focus and empty your wallet. Unnecessary upgrades, emotional purchases, impulsive decisions, distractions disguised as opportunities, instant gratification disguised as happiness. If you cannot control your impulses, you cannot control your finances. If you cannot delay gratification, you cannot build long-term wealth. If you cannot say no to the wrong things, you cannot say yes to the right ones. Self-control is not about deprivation, it is about direction. It is the ability to pause, evaluate, and choose what aligns with your future instead of what satisfies you in the moment. It is choosing growth over comfort, investment over impulse, learning over entertainment, preparation over excuses. Self-control is the highest form of self-respect. It says, my future matters more than my urges. My goals matter more than my distractions. My purpose matters more than my comfort. And when you think and act like that, money begins trusting you, because money grows where discipline lives. The truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They fail because they avoid discipline. They fail because they listen to their emotions more than their vision. Emotions change, circumstances shift, motivation rises and falls. But discipline is the anchor that keeps you moving even when everything in you wants to stop. It is the quiet warrior inside you saying, we keep going, we keep building, we keep rising. The moment you begin honoring your commitments to yourself, the universe begins honoring you. Opportunities appear because you are finally in a position to receive them. People begin taking you seriously. Your skills begin sharpening. Your confidence begins rising. Your energy becomes more powerful. Your decisions become more intelligent. And all of this reflects in your relationship with money. You become someone who thinks long-term, someone who invests wisely, someone who moves strategically, someone who says not today to temporary distractions and yes forever to long-term success. Discipline shapes your character, and character shapes your income. You cannot cheat the process. You cannot jump the line. You cannot pray for wealth while practicing behaviors that destroy it. If you want a life that looks different, you must become someone who behaves differently. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. Consistency is doing it again and again until the results become undeniable. Self-control is protecting your progress from the impulses that threaten to derail it. When you master these three, you become someone impossible to stop. And this is the moment the world sees you differently. You stop being someone who talks about their dreams and become someone who builds them. You stop being someone who hopes for a better life and become someone who creates it. You stop being someone who chases money and become someone money naturally moves toward. Because when you carry discipline in your actions, consistency in your habits, and self-control in your decisions, you align yourself with the exact energy that abundance responds to. This is how money begins to follow you, not because you force it, not because you fake it, but because you have finally become the kind of person who can handle it, grow it, and multiply it. Discipline is the doorway, consistency is the path, and self-control is the guardrail that keeps you moving forward. And once those are in place, money has no choice but to come your way. The greatest shift you will ever experience in your financial life happens the moment you stop treating money as a distant dream and start treating your current reality as the training ground for your future wealth. People keep waiting for someday when the circumstances are perfect, someday when the timing feels right, someday when the stars align and the world finally agrees that they're worthy of abundance. But the truth is simple. Money responds to the person you already are, not the person you're hoping to become one day. And this is where most people unknowingly trap themselves. They behave like the version of themselves who is still struggling, still doubting, still asking for permission to grow instead of embodying the mindset of someone who already knows success is inevitable. The mind moves first, the world follows. Imagine two people given the exact same opportunities. One believes money is scarce, that life is a constant battle of lack, fear, and survival. The other sees money as a reflection of value, confidence, and possibility. Give both of them the same job, the same salary, the same tools, and the same environment. One will expand, the other will shrink. One will find a way to grow, the other will find a way to stay stuck. Why? Because wealth is not in the opportunity, it is in the interpretation. It is not in the external, but inside the mindset that processes the external. When you begin to think like someone who is already in control of their destiny, money starts gravitating toward you because you naturally behave in ways aligned with growth, not fear. But adopting this mindset requires honesty. It requires looking at your life and asking yourself, what am I tolerating that the wealthiest version of me would never accept? It could be procrastination, cheap habits, self-doubt, negative self-talk, fear of risk, settling for less, or surrounding yourself with people who drain instead of elevate. Because the wealthiest version of you is not defined by the number in your bank account. They are defined by the standard they hold themselves to. When you raise your standards, your behaviors rise with them. When your behaviors rise, your outcomes begin to shift. And when your outcomes shift, money naturally starts following you. Think about the world's most successful individuals. They weren't handed wealth because they were lucky. They became wealthy because they cultivated the inner world required to handle abundance. They grew before the money grew. They expanded internally before the world expanded around them. Their wealth was the byproduct of who they became, not the other way around. And this is the piece most people overlook. Money is not the cause of transformation. It is the result of transformation. When you start thinking like someone who expects success, who believes opportunity is everywhere, who sees abundance instead of limitation, who acts boldly instead of hesitating in fear, money has no choice but to follow. But you cannot think like this in moments of comfort alone. Anyone can act confident when life is easy. True growth happens in moments of pressure. It happens in the quiet hours when no one is watching, when you're making decisions no one will applaud, when you're investing time and energy into something that hasn't yet paid off. This is where the mindset is built, in the unseen moments. That's where your character is forged. That's where the wealthy version of you is sculpted. Every decision you make is either feeding your old story or fueling your new one. Every thought is a vote for who you are becoming. Every habit either elevates you or erodes you. You are never standing still. You are always moving in one direction or the other. To think like the future wealthy version of yourself, you must learn to detach from the approval of others. Most people never grow financially because they spend their time trying to fit into rooms they've outgrown instead of reaching for the rooms they belong in. They are afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or criticized. But money follows those who are bold enough to move different, think different, act different. You cannot live an extraordinary life while clinging to ordinary validation. Wealthy thinking requires courage, the courage to be misunderstood, to be doubted, to take risks, to challenge norms, to bet on yourself even when no one else does. And perhaps the most powerful part of this transformation is understanding that you don't need anyone's permission to think bigger. Your mind is yours, your vision is yours, your future is yours. You get to choose the thoughts that shape your reality. You get to decide whether you build limits or break them. You get to choose whether you repeat the past or rewrite it. Every wealthy person you admire started with a single thought that refused to die, a single idea that kept growing, a single belief that said, "I am meant for more." And with that belief, everything else aligned. When you begin thinking like someone who is already wealthy, you start treating your time differently. You stop wasting it on distractions, drama, and people who drain your energy. You start investing it in learning, building, growing, and creating. You begin valuing your mind like $1 million asset because you finally understand that it is one. You start reading differently, speaking differently, working differently, and showing up differently. You begin developing the habits of consistency, resilience, delayed gratification, and discipline, the habits that create wealth long before the wealth arrives. People often say, "I'll think differently once my life changes." No. Your life changes once you think differently. Your external world mirrors your internal world. Money follows clarity, energy, decisiveness, and belief. It follows those who are willing to take uncomfortable actions because they know comfort is the enemy of transformation. It follows those who trust that their potential is bigger than their excuses. It follows those who see opportunities where others see obstacles. It follows those who treat their dreams like obligations, not optional fantasies. And when you shift your internal narrative, everything begins to change. You start to see money not as something scarce, but as something constantly flowing. You recognize that wealth is not a privilege reserved for a select few. It is a possibility available to anyone with the courage to think differently. Money flows to the mind that knows where it's going. Money multiplies in the hands of the person who respects it. Money supports the person who manages it with wisdom and intention. Money gravitates toward the individual who refuses to shrink their dreams out of fear. So, when you begin to think like the version of yourself who is already wealthy, already capable, already powerful, already deserving, you stop worrying about the how and start focusing on the who. Because once you become the person capable of handling wealth, wealth arrives naturally. It doesn't need to be forced, chased, or begged for. It responds, it follows, it aligns, because you have become the magnet for the abundance you once wished for. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that money isn't responding to their effort alone, it's responding to their energy. It's responding to the frequency they carry, the attitude they broadcast, the courage they embody, and the invisible force they bring into every room, every conversation, every decision, and every opportunity. You can work the hardest, grind the longest, hustle with everything you have. But if your energy is rooted in fear, scarcity, resentment, or self-doubt, money will always slip through your fingers. People who rise financially do not rise because they move their hands, they rise because they move their mindset. And once you understand how your inner energy shapes your outer wealth, you begin to transform the way you show up in life. You've met people who light up a room the moment they walk in. They don't even have to speak. Their presence communicates belief, intention, purpose, and certainty. This is not luck, this is alignment. They've trained their inner world to operate on a higher frequency than the chaos around them. They've learned to carry an energy that commands attention, attracts possibility, and invites abundance. Money follows people like that not because they are better, not because they are special, but because they have become the kind of person money feels safe growing with. Money grows where energy is stable. Money expands where intention is clear. Money multiplies where discipline is strong, where gratitude is genuine, where confidence is rooted, and where actions are aligned with vision rather than fear. Most people are unaware of the energy they're projecting. They speak the language of abundance but vibrate the frequency of lack. They say they want more money, but their daily conversations are filled with complaints about bills, expenses, struggles, limitations, and what's not working. They wish for opportunities but expect disappointment. They dream of wealth but act from the same old patterns that keep them stuck. Energy doesn't lie. Money responds to the truth beneath your words, not the words themselves. And until your inner world reflects abundance, your outer world will resist it. Think of yourself as a magnet. Your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and habits determine what you attract and what you repel. If your energetic signature is shaped by doubt, hesitation, bitterness, and fear, then wealth will avoid you because wealth cannot thrive in an environment soaked in negativity. But when you elevate your mind to a frequency of certainty, gratitude, empowerment, and expansion, money begins to seek you because you have become the container that can hold it. Everything starts with energy, everything. There is a reason successful people protect their minds so fiercely. They choose their environments carefully. They avoid toxic conversations. They guard their peace, their focus, and their mental clarity as if their life depends on it because it does. They know that one negative thought can weaken a dream, one doubtful voice can derail momentum, and one moment of hesitation can cost the opportunity that changes everything. Their energy is their greatest asset. They treat it like currency. They invest it wisely. They do not allow average thinking to contaminate their extraordinary goals. Your energy becomes your reality. If you believe that money is difficult to earn, you will find yourself struggling for every dollar. If you believe that opportunities are rare, you will overlook the ones right in front of you. If you believe that wealth is reserved for others, you will unconsciously sabotage your own growth. But if you believe that money flows to you, that opportunities multiply for you, that abundance is attracted to you, and that success is your natural state, you will begin to act, speak, and move like someone who expects good things to happen. And once you embody that expectation, the universe responds in ways you cannot even imagine. But energy is not just about thinking good thoughts. It is about aligning your actions with those thoughts. You cannot claim abundance but behave like someone who has already lost. You cannot dream of prosperity but operate from fear. You cannot speak of goals but hide from the work required to achieve them. Real, energetic alignment is the fusion of belief and behavior, the merging of mindset and movement. It is the point where your thoughts, emotions, decisions, and actions all point in the same direction. That direction becomes your destiny. The people who attract money the fastest are not those who know everything. They are the ones who trust themselves. They make decisions quickly. They take action without overthinking. They believe in their abilities even when the circumstances are uncertain. They do not wait for signs, they become the sign. They do not wait for the perfect moment, they decide the moment is perfect because they have chosen to commit. Their energy becomes a message to the world, I am ready for more, and the world responds. Your energy also determines the opportunities that show up in your life. When you carry a high-level frequency, you naturally attract high-level people. You enter rooms that match your potential, not your past. You find yourself surrounded by minds that elevate your thinking, conversations that challenge your limits, and environments that stretch your ambition. The people you meet begin to reflect the person you are becoming. Wealthy energy attracts wealthy environments. Abundant energy attracts abundant opportunities. Confident energy attracts confident partnerships. What you carry within becomes a mirror for what shows up around you. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of energetic alignment is the relationship you build with yourself. Money responds to self-respect. Money responds to self-belief. Money responds to the person who shows up for themselves even when no one else does. When you keep your promises to yourself, when you build discipline through your daily choices, when you follow through on your goals, when you hold yourself accountable, your energy strengthens. You become trustworthy in your own eyes. And once you trust yourself, the world begins to trust you too. Your confidence becomes magnetic. Your consistency becomes rare. Your determination becomes undeniable. People can feel it. Opportunities can feel it. Money can feel it. There is a gravitational pull around someone who is aligned with their purpose, someone who walks with clarity, someone who embodies power quietly, without ego, but with certainty. That kind of person doesn't chase anything, things chase them. They don't compete, they create. They don't fear the future, they build it. So the moment you shift your internal energy, everything in your financial world begins to transform. You stop operating from desperation and start operating from inspiration. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop worrying about money and start commanding it through your decisions, your discipline, and your energy. Money follows alignment. Money follows confidence. Money follows clarity. Money follows the person who carries the frequency of abundance wherever they go. There is a powerful shift that happens in your life when you finally understand that money does not respond to the person who waits, it responds to the person who initiates. Most people live in a passive relationship with their dreams. They wait for inspiration, wait for luck, wait for the economy to change, wait for someone to validate their potential, wait for circumstances to magically align. But nothing great is built through waiting. Wealth is built through movement, through boldness, through the willingness to start before you feel fully ready. The person who changes their financial future is the one who stops negotiating with hesitation and decides that action is the only language success respects. Every dream you've ever had, every goal that has lived quietly in your heart, every desire for a better life is waiting for one thing: your movement, not your perfection, not your preparation, not your complete confidence. Just your movement. When you begin taking action, even small action, you tell the universe, "I am serious." And the universe responds with opportunities that were invisible before. Movement creates clarity. Movement creates momentum. Movement builds the identity you need to hold wealth when it arrives. People think money will make them confident, but confidence builds the conditions for money. Confidence is earned through doing the things that scare you, through stepping forward even when uncertainty whispers in your ear. Most people underestimate how much is possible simply because they never begin. They get stuck in their excuses, trapped in their fears, convinced that the right moment hasn't arrived yet. Let me tell you something. The right moment is never coming. You create the right moment. The world doesn't pause to give you permission. Success does not wait for your anxiety to calm down. Money doesn't wait for your doubts to disappear. The life you want begins the moment you decide to stop asking life for more and start demanding more from yourself. When you act boldly, even imperfectly, you activate a part of yourself that has been sleeping, the part that is fearless, the part that is resilient, the part that was built for greatness. Think about how many ideas have died in people's minds because they hesitated too long. Think about how many businesses were never started, how many skills were never learned, how many opportunities were missed because someone whispered to themselves, "I'm not ready." You become ready through action. Readiness is not something you wait for, it is something you become. When you start taking consistent action, even if the steps feel small, your self-belief expands, your confidence grows. You prove to yourself that you are someone who follows through. You become a person who can trust themselves, and once you trust yourself, the world naturally begins to trust you too. People often say, "I don't know where to start." Start anywhere. Start with what you have. Start with who you are. Start with one step, one call, one idea, one attempt. You don't need the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need the $1,000,000 plan to make the $20 decision. You don't need all the answers before you begin the journey. Progress is built through imperfect movement, repeated consistently. Most people fail not because they lack the ability, but because they never allow themselves to begin the process that would unlock their ability. The universe rewards motion. It rewards those who dare to push forward despite uncertainty. Life has a strange way of opening doors for the person who knocks the loudest. But the truth is, many people never knock, they lean quietly on the wall, hoping someone will notice them. Hope is not a strategy for wealth. Hope without action becomes disappointment, but hope paired with movement becomes transformation. When you move, everything shifts. Suddenly, you attract conversations you weren't receiving before. You notice opportunities you used to overlook. Your brain switches from survival mode to creation mode. Your energy evolves from stagnant to expansive. This is the magic that begins when action enters the equation. Money responds to those who take initiative. Employers notice them. Partners invest in them. Clients trust them. The world opens for them because their energy communicates commitment. When you show up and take action, you become visible. And visibility is the first step to opportunity. You cannot win in silence. You cannot grow in hiding. You cannot transform by remaining invisible. You must step into rooms that scare you. You must try things that stretch you. You must allow yourself to be seen even if you are still learning, still growing, still uncertain. People admire effort. People invest in effort. Effort is the currency of opportunity. There is a special power in showing up consistently. Not once, not occasionally, but daily. Consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results. When you show up every day, even when you don't feel motivated, you build the discipline that wealth rewards. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline builds empires. The people who rise financially are not always the most talented, they are the most consistent. They don't wait for inspiration, they create it through action. They don't wait for confidence, they build it through repetition. They don't wait for momentum, they generate it through persistence. When you consistently move toward your goals, even slowly, you eventually cross the line where the world starts moving with you. Momentum picks up. Things start aligning faster. People begin supporting you. Doors open smoother. Ideas come easier. What once felt impossible becomes natural. But none of that happens without movement. Every success story you admire began with one uncomfortable step, one brave moment, one decision to try, and the most powerful thing about movement is the way it transforms your identity. Every time you act, you reinforce the idea that you are someone who deserves more. You become the kind of person who takes life into their own hands. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance and start feeling like a creator of possibility. Your mindset shifts from "I hope things will change" to "I am changing things." Money is attracted to people with that mindset. Money grows with people who take ownership of their future. Money belongs to those who understand that movement is the foundation of success. When you adopt the identity of someone who takes consistent action, fear loses its power. Doubt becomes quieter. Excuses dissolve. You stop waiting for the universe to give you a sign because you realize the sign was always you, your desire, your vision, your potential. You become unstoppable not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You train your mind to lean into discomfort rather than run from it. You train your heart to believe that every effort, no matter how small, is shaping your destiny. And you train your spirit to trust that your future is worth fighting for. Money follows the person who moves. It follows the person who dares. It follows the person who starts. It follows the person who decides that their dreams matter more than their fears. The moment you choose consistent action over comfort, your entire life begins to shift. Your energy changes, your identity evolves, your opportunities multiply, and soon you look back and realize that everything started with one simple decision, the decision to move. There comes a point in your journey when you must understand that money is not just attracted to skill or talent, it is attracted to discipline. Discipline is the invisible force that separates people who dream from people who do. It is the edge, the advantage, the multiplier. Discipline is what turns potential into results, ideas into income, and opportunities into breakthroughs. You can have incredible talent, brilliant ideas, and even the right connections, but without discipline, none of it becomes wealth. Discipline is the bridge between your intention and your destination, and the moment you build it within yourself, money begins to move toward you in ways you never imagined. Most people believe they need motivation to succeed. Motivation is beautiful, but it is temporary. It is emotional. It rises with good days and collapses on the bad ones. Motivation is like a spark. It can ignite you, but it cannot sustain you. Discipline is the fire that burns long after motivation disappears. The people who rise to wealth are not the ones who feel motivated all the time. They are the ones who act even when they don't feel like it. They do the work even when it's inconvenient. They keep showing up even when results are slow. They stay consistent when others quit. Discipline is the quiet force that keeps you moving forward when your emotions are trying to hold you back. There is a powerful transformation that happens when you begin honoring your commitments to yourself. Most people trust others more than they trust themselves because they break their own promises constantly. They say they will start saving but don't. They say they will wake up early but hit snooze. They say they will start that business but stay stuck in fear. Every broken promise weakens your identity. Every unkept commitment teaches your mind that your own word doesn't matter. And when your word loses power, your confidence collapses with it. Discipline restores that power. Discipline rebuilds the trust between you and yourself. Discipline is the voice that says, "I said I would, so I will." Wealth is built on that kind of trust. When you trust yourself, you take bolder risks. You make clearer decisions. You build stronger habits. You see the world differently because you know you can count on yourself regardless of the situation. Money gravitates towards stability, certainty, and responsibility, all qualities created through discipline. People who lack discipline often create chaos in their finances because their habits are inconsistent. They overspend, procrastinate, avoid planning, and make decisions based on emotion rather than intention. But people with discipline build solid foundations. They manage their money wisely. They prioritize their time effectively. They make decisions aligned with their goals rather than their impulses. And as a result, money multiplies in their hands instead of slipping through them. Discipline shapes your daily life. It determines how you use your time, what you focus on, and how you respond to challenges. Imagine two people with identical dreams. One relies on motivation. They work hard when they feel inspired, but they collapse when life gets difficult. The other relies on discipline. They work with consistency, structure, and purpose regardless of their mood. At the end of 1 year, the difference between the two is staggering. The motivated person has short bursts of progress followed by long periods of stagnation. The disciplined person has accumulated hundreds of small victories that compound into massive results. That compounding is where wealth is created, not in the big leaps, but in the small, repeated actions that build unstoppable momentum. Discipline also protects you from the biggest threat to your financial future, the desire for instant gratification. People sabotage themselves not because they lack intelligence, but because they crave the dopamine of now, more than the reward of later. They buy things they don't need. They waste time on distractions. They choose comfort over growth. They trade long-term success for short-term pleasure. But disciplined people understand that every choice has a cost. They delay gratification because they know the payoff will be 10 times greater later. They sacrifice temporary comfort for permanent transformation, and that ability to delay gratification is one of the strongest predictors of wealth in every study ever conducted. Discipline also builds resilience. Life will test you. The path to financial growth is not smooth. It is filled with setbacks, failures, disappointments, rejections, and unexpected challenges. People without discipline crumble at the first sign of adversity. They quit when things get hard. They retreat into comfort. But the disciplined mind does not break under pressure, it sharpens. Instead of running from challenges, disciplined people confront them. Instead of avoiding discomfort, they embrace it. Instead of quitting, they adapt. Resilience is not a personality trait, it is a byproduct of discipline, and resilience is what allows you to keep moving forward until you win. Another powerful aspect of discipline is the way it elevates your self-image. When you consistently do what needs to be done, you start to see yourself as capable, committed, strong, and worthy of success. Your internal dialogue changes. your confidence grows. You stop identifying with your past failures and start identifying with your growing strength. This shift in self-image is crucial because you can only attract the level of wealth you believe you deserve. Discipline teaches you that you deserve more because you earn it with your actions. And when you believe you deserve more, you naturally move in ways that attract more. Discipline simplifies your life. It removes chaos. It eliminates confusion. It cuts away the unnecessary. When you are disciplined, you don't waste time overthinking. You don't drown in indecision. You don't drift blindly through your days. You operate with clarity and purpose. You know your priorities. You focus on what matters. You build daily routines that support your growth. You create structure around your goals instead of hoping things will somehow fall into place. Wealth loves structure. Wealth grows in environments of order, not chaos, and discipline is the architect of that order. But the most beautiful part of discipline is that it becomes easier the more you practice it. At first, it feels heavy. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unnatural because your old habits are fighting for survival. But every day you choose discipline, your old habits weaken. And every day you show up with consistency, your new identity strengthens. Eventually, the things that once felt difficult become normal. Waking up early becomes natural. Saving money becomes automatic. Working on your goals becomes effortless. Making healthy choices becomes instinctive. Discipline becomes who you are, not something you do, and that identity is what builds long-term wealth. People often ask, what is the secret to success? The secret is simple. Do what you said you would do long after the excitement has faded. Show up when it's boring, work when you're tired, commit when it's inconvenient, push when you feel like pausing. Every time you choose discipline, you step one level higher. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you move one step closer to the life you want. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from the chains of procrastination, excuses, fear, and doubt. It frees you from the version of yourself that settles for less. And once you rise above that version, wealth becomes not just possible, but inevitable. There is a profound truth that most people never realize about money. It is drawn to clarity of vision. Without clarity, your efforts scatter, your energy dissipates, and your results are weak or inconsistent. People spend years drifting through life, working hard, chasing opportunities, and yet never achieving the abundance they desire because they haven't defined what they truly want. The mind cannot attract what it cannot clearly imagine. Wealth flows toward people who have a precise, vivid, undeniable vision of where they are going. The more clearly you can see your goal, the more naturally the universe aligns to help you reach it. Clarity is the map. Money is the compass, and until you understand the destination, your journey will feel endless and frustrating. Clarity starts with your inner conversation. Many people think they know what they want, but their thoughts are scattered, conflicted, and full of doubt. One moment they desire wealth, the next they worry it will make them greedy. One moment they dream of abundance, the next they fear they will lose everything. That internal contradiction is a powerful force that repels opportunities, confuses decisions, and blocks financial growth. The mind cannot work toward a moving target. If your vision is foggy, your actions will be inconsistent, and money will slip through your fingers. But when your goals are precise, defined, and non-negotiable, your energy aligns with that vision, and the universe begins to respond. Clarity is not just about defining numbers in a bank account. It's about defining who you are becoming in the process of achieving them. Wealth is attracted to identity, not just effort. You cannot simply want more money. You must first become someone who embodies the mindset, habits, and decisions of a wealthy person. Who is the person you need to be in order to handle the abundance you desire? What kind of daily habits, choices, and focus do they practice? What is their relationship with money, risk, and opportunity? The clearer you are about that identity, the easier it becomes to step into it, and the easier it becomes to attract the financial results you are seeking. Clarity also eliminates wasted energy. When you are unclear, you waste time, attention, and resources pursuing every shiny distraction that comes your way. You say yes to too many things, chase every idea, and exhaust yourself without result. Opportunities appear, but you cannot recognize the right ones because your mind is scattered. But when clarity enters your life, decision-making becomes effortless. You know what to focus on and what to ignore. You know which opportunities to say yes to and which to walk past. You know exactly where to invest your time, your energy, and your resources. And when your energy is focused, money follows naturally because it is attracted to the path of least resistance, the person who knows where they are going. Clarity is also a powerful tool for resilience. When challenges arise, as they inevitably will, people with a clear vision respond differently. They are less likely to be shaken, distracted, or derailed. Their energy remains focused on the target, and setbacks become temporary obstacles, not permanent roadblocks. Clarity allows you to see beyond the immediate difficulty to the larger picture. It allows you to keep moving forward even when the world around you seems chaotic. People who lack clarity get lost in problems, while people